All right, we are live. Welcome back, you guys, to our daily live feed. As you guys are getting logged on, if you would like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits and posing, all the fun stuff when it comes to competing. And tonight, as always, we will give it a couple minutes for everybody to get logged on, and then we will roll into tonight's topic, which is what should we be looking for at the Olympia? And this is in regard to criteria points. So as you guys are logging on, if you're on Instagram, I'll be screen sharing over on YouTube. So you can follow us over on YouTube and see the screen share if you'd like. Can't screen share over on Instagram, or I would, but I can't. So I'm on YouTube doing that. Yes, this is a good topic. So what's up? What's up? Say hello, comment, like, subscribe. All those things help us with our algorithms and get us rolling in the right direction here tonight. So we have the Olympia coming up next week. This time next week. I will be in Vegas at this time next week. I know a few of our ladies will be there as well. Some girls are going in earlier than that. Some girls are there already. Some girls are going in on Thursday, different days, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, the Olympia is what kind of determines the direction of our sport for the coming year. So that's why we're going to talk about that tonight. All right. So I'm going to give everybody a minute to get on here. And again, as you get logged on, what I would like you to do as you are getting on here is comment. Tell me what you would like to see, I guess, rewarded at the Olympia, what you would like to see as far as criteria points that are stressed or adhered to or seen or rewarded or judged or whatever. So give me some things that you would like to see happen with the judging. You can narrow it down to the particular division, criteria, whatever it is that you'd like to see. As far as our sport is concerned, what gets rewarded on stage this year, what we should be looking for, what you are going to be looking for, what you are interested in seeing at the Olympia, what you want to see happen for our sport going forward in this next year. And I'm bringing this up for several different reasons. One of the reasons being that, we have criteria points that we want to stick to, obviously. Major class during presentation wellness for me. Yeah, okay, I understand that. Absolutely. Having classy presentations and wellness. Yes. So I'll address that too as we get into this. Some of the comments that have come in off of my prediction video sparked this as far as why I wanted to talk about this, because criteria is very important that we adhere to. And I understand that we all start creating like this fan base for certain athletes in our sport. Some people really love certain girls, different athletes, things like that, want to see them succeed and things of that nature. But at the same time, we have to stay objective and we have to say, okay, does that particular athlete fit the criteria? Do they fit the criteria that we want to see rewarded? So this is why I wanted to bring this up, because there are several things that we talked about during our prediction video last night that could affect criteria for the division based on who actually gets rewarded, right? So as I said, as we're getting into this, and I'll pull up the criteria points on NPC News Online. Tell me some of the things that you want to see happen on the Olympia stage this year as far as criteria being stuck to, right? And we'll go into this for each class. I'll pull up the actual criteria for each class so that you can see what it is. And then we're going to kind of pay attention and see if the judging goes with the criteria or if it goes in a different direction, right? I brought this up on my stories last week too, and a lot of really good answers on this as well from that too. But to start, let's go ahead and address this question that came in, the major class during presentation and wellness for me. So the way I'm taking that question is I'm guessing you're asking that there's classiness that's brought to the presentation for wellness, right? I think this is across the board as far as presentation is concerned. I want to see classiness in the presentation. I do think that presentations got a little bit out of hand this past year in both wellness and in bikini. You guys know I've been very vocal about the whole touching of the glutes thing. I am not a fan, not a fan of touching the glutes when you're in your routines. things like that. So I do hope that that also gets reined in this year. We saw that as a trend towards the beginning. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the no glute touches. Exactly correct. We saw that start in the spring this year, and it very quickly dissipated. Like it took on like wildfire for the first couple of months when it first started, and then it completely disappeared. The reason why it completely disappeared is because the judges went straight to those athletes when they asked for feedback and told them to stop doing it. So I really hope we don't see it at all on the Olympia stage, because unfortunately what happens is if one competitor does it and that particular competitor does well, then other competitors start doing it, right? So I have my theories of where it began, but I'm just glad to see that it's stopped, right? That it's not doing that. So, so I think that it will be calmed down for the reason that I just mentioned, because the judges have been very vocal and have said they don't like it. They don't like it at all. But also, as we know, the routines are going to be limited to 45 seconds. So in 45 seconds, you can't do a whole lot in your routine that could be questionable, right? You want to show your best and get off. I've been telling girls that are prepping for this, you got to go out, hit your front pose, hit your back pose, turn back around and go. That's it. You have time to maybe take a couple of steps back and on a walk if you want, or you have time to do a T-walk forward, one or the other. You don't have time to do both. So pick what's most important to showing your physique and get off the stage. You can't do a ton of stuff in 45 seconds. You just can't. I do think bringing that presentation limit down was good. I hope it sticks for the majority of pro shows. But to be honest with you, I think the sweet spot is a minute. I think the sweet spot for presentations is 1 minute. So I understand why it's 45 seconds for the Olympia. It's because they have a ton of competitors. So I understand why they're doing 45 seconds. But I think in general, when we're getting onto the main pro stages, I think it should be a minute. I think we should have time limits of 1 minute. There were several competitors, especially in wellness, that this past year did like 1 minute and 30 seconds. And that's way too much. Wellness, you have a few more poses than bikini. I get it. I understand you got quarter turns. I understand that. But still, the more you stay up there, the more flaws they can pick apart, right? So I really think that the sweet spot is a minute. Yeah, 45 seconds to a minute. I agree. When I do my own routine at home as I'm practicing for my progress photos, things like that, I've got it down to 50 seconds. So I do think between 45 to a minute is good. I don't think you need more than that. I just don't. You can show plenty of personality in that time frame without showing too much, right? It's a big question. They seem to reward very lean and hard physiques throughout the year. Will they stick with that or reward a softer feminine physique? I hope the latter. So I agree. I hope that they don't go too hard, too lean. I hope that the soft feminine curves are rewarded. I think Jennifer Dory last year was great. I think she was right down the middle. And I know that she's coming in tighter because they told her she needed to come in tighter. So I'm hoping that doesn't take away from those feminine curves. I think Jordan had great soft feminine curves, really tight, but really well proportioned and full and round and all that kind of stuff this year too. I really like that look. Ashlyn, the same thing. Really liked that look. Romina at her last show that she just won, I thought that was a great look. I think that once you lose that fullness, it starts getting a little bit too hard and too much. Now, again, they told Ashlyn at the last show she needed to be harder, she needed to be tighter. So she's doing that. And I agree, from that last showing, she needed to be tighter, but I think from her wins, she was good, right? I think from her wins, she was where she needed to be. One of the things that I think could work in Ashley Kaltwasser's favor is the fact that she is round and tight, but she's not too tight. I think that could definitely work in her favor. I'm hoping that's the direction that the rewarding goes. Same thing when we're talking about wellness. Francielli is another one that is very well conditioned, but not over the top. She's still full and round. And I want to see that being rewarded. I agree. I don't want to see anything too hard, too grainy, too striated anywhere on any of these women, including in figure. Even with Sydney Gillian, you know, the thing with Sydney, the reason why she is so hard to beat is because she's just so genetically superior. She has those round, full muscle bellies, and it's very hard to do that just as a normal human being. She is a genetic freak, right? So everybody else tries to catch up to her, and the way that they try to catch up to her is through conditioning typically. So I like the full round physique, and I'm hoping that that's what gets rewarded across the board. That's why a lot of the girls that I chose for figure have a similar flow to their physique as Sydney. So I'm hoping that's the direction that the rewarding goes as far as the judging criteria is concerned. Sorry, I missed a few of these comments. Coming back up here for a second. Devin killed her last routine. I love her flow. Yeah, Devin has an amazing flow to her wellness routine. You know, I love the presence that a Francielli has, right? I love the presence that she has on stage, but sometimes her routine is just too much. Like it's too long. She does too many poses, you know, too flowy with the arms all over the place and things like that, right? Whereas I think that Devin has that, okay, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to show you straight to the point who I am, what I have to offer with a really good, like classy, like we were talking about, flow. And so I think having the mix of those two is good. I think if Francielli takes her routine and just trims it down, so again, she's in that time frame, I think she's good to go, right? So those are the kinds of routines that I really like. Issa is another one. Wellness Issa is another one that does a really good job with her posing routines and things too. So there's a lot of girls that do very, very good, classy routines with wellness. And I'm hoping that that becomes the trend for everybody, right? Atlantic Coast gave us 20 seconds. It was actually great. So yeah, Jennifer actually told me, and this is something I had a conversation about with our Olympians going in. I was like, you know, Jennifer mentioned that when Shannon Day was emceeing on stage, she was standing there with a stopwatch, like, okay, this is how much time you have. That's it. Boom, get off the stage, right? And I think that's going to be relatively similar once they get to the Olympia, because they have to keep that pace going, or we're going to be there for fucking 5 days. Prejudging, right? There's just so many athletes in these divisions this year. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see all that. So, shows what she needs to do. Classy, nothing too much. Yes, agree. She sure does. I like getting on and off stage. I love to see the fullness around us. Yes. Curious with the men's bodybuilding. Men's bodybuilding already have a time limit, right? They already have a time limit. They have a time limit already. It's the wellness, men's physique, and bikini that don't have time limits. Same thing with figure. Figure girls don't typically do super long routines. I don't see a lot of figure girls staying up there forever. Typically the figure girls are doing less than a minute, because that's not, you know, one of the things that I've actually been critical about with figure girls in the past has been the fact that their routines are kind of like meh. There's not a whole lot of wow pow to most of the figure girl routines. A lot of the times when I'm watching figure pros, they look like amateur routines as far as their polish to them. And that's another reason why Sid Gillen just takes it, because she has so much presence and polish to her routine. And then there's everybody else who doesn't even come close. So I really think that this time limit doesn't apply so much to the figure girls as it does everybody else, because I don't think that the figure girls have taken too much time. Wellness girls absolutely have. Bikini girls have been getting better about it, but there's a few that go way overboard with the time too. So, you know, it needs to be put in place for every division. You know, and on the men's side as well. The men's side, you know, men's physique, they have the time limit as well. And I'll say this too. I mentioned this after watching Ben Weider. I was there in person at Ben Weider, and the men's physique pros took way too much time on stage. They hit that same freaking front pose 5 times before they walked off. They would do boom, 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 boom. I'm like, how many times can you hit the damn front pose? It's the same fucking pose. Sorry. I was like, honestly, I've had this discussion with several people, and the men's physique guys are the worst when it comes to their routines. So as much as we pick on the wellness and bikini girls, men's physique's worse. I'm just saying. So I'm actually really, really happy that they have trimmed this routine down and have made them stick to a time frame and time limit. It just for those of us in the audience, it becomes very repetitive and it doesn't do a whole lot. Other than and I'll say this too. Like I mentioned this after watching the men's physique. I don't typically watch them on the pro stage, right? So I sat there and actually watched all of men's physique, that particular show, and I'm like, when the same guy hit the same pose 5 times, after he hit it the first time, I'm now looking at all of his flaws in that pose every time that he hit it. I'm like, oh, well, he's actually too etched in over here. He has striations in his shoulder. Oh, he has this. I'm looking at the flaws at that point. And that's exactly what the judges are doing, you guys. So if you think that longer is better, you're wrong. It's not. It's worse. So I'm just saying. So, some figure is adding a little bit of flow, but honestly, they're way behind when it comes to the presentation aspect. Like I mentioned this when Julia Waring won her show this year in Texas. She had a phenomenal figure routine. So there are a few that are doing a really good job at their routines. There are a few that have some really good flow. But by and large, the figure girls are the ones that are behind when it comes to their presentation and their flow to their presentation, by and large. Now, again, as I said, there's a few that are doing a very, very good job. But in general, they're not. So figure girls, step your game up. I said this even last year. I said this when I was seeing these girls come out. I'm like, man, these don't even look like pros. Y'all need to work on your presentations. Get with a freaking bikini or a wellness chick to help you with that stuff, right? Like you're a pro athlete. This is part of your criteria. You need to get it handled, right? Julia came and she posed with me, and I helped her get some swagger going. She didn't pose with me in a long time, but she did come pose with me. And I told her, I said, it's okay to get out there and get some swagger. I want to see some swagger, and I understand that you want to be a serious athlete and all that. I totally get that. But putting some hip swivel into that, go for it. Actually, Gary told her the same thing when we were at the opposing clinic this past year. He was like, give me more, keep giving me more, right? We want to see that. We want to see some performance from the figure girls, right? What else do you guys want to see as far as criteria points? What are some criteria points? Like we just mentioned, the not too lean, too hard thing. Agree. One of the other things, this is one of the things that spawned this as well, is the muscle size, right? Somebody commented about Laura Lee and wanting to see more muscle in bikini. And I have to tell you, I 100% disagree with that. And the reason for that is because we need to stick to criteria, right? Now, again, I'm just saying this based on what we've been seeing on Instagram. The way that Laura Lee shows up on stage could be completely different than what we're inferring from Instagram posts. She could be 100% on the criteria and we're good. So, again, I'm putting that disclaimer out there. But bikini is not supposed to be big as far as muscle size is concerned. If you want to get bigger in your muscle size, go to figure. That's what figure is for. There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow. That's the whole reason why we have the progressions of these divisions. Bikini is supposed to be the entry level. Girls that are not in this industry should look at bikini and say, I want to look like that. I can do that. That's what bikini should be. Okay. If you want to grow and put more size on, that is completely possible, and you can move up in the divisions. If you want to grow your lower half, if you're one of these girls that has more mass on your lower half, that is what wellness is for. Devon's a great example. Devon was bikini and she grew into wellness, right? Now look at her. She's a top Olympian in wellness. That's what the division progression is for, right? We have to keep bikini attainable. When we're in this industry for as long as we are, we get goggles where we don't see people clearly, right? We don't see everybody in this industry how people outside of this industry see us, right? Muscle is impressive. Don't get me wrong. Conditioning is impressive. Don't get me wrong. We know that takes a whole lot of hard work, but bikini is not supposed to be big muscle, tons of conditioning, super lean, shredded, all this stuff. That's not what it's supposed to be. If you want to be that, you can be. That's why they have wellness and figure and women's physique and female bodybuilding. You can move up. You can keep going up. And if you want to take it off, you can. You can take it off. I earned my pro card in figure. Now, again, this was in 2013, and the criteria was very, very different in 2013 than what it is today. So, but I didn't want to put the size on that I would need in order to be competitive in pro figure, which is why I moved to bikini. That's the beautiful part about it. However you want to develop your physique, you can. You just have to go into the division that is going to be correct for that development, right? That's where I get confused sometimes. So some bikini girls look big to me on the gram at least, and I figure maybe I just have more to learn. So Brandy, I'm going to use you as an example. So Brandy is, just won her pro card at nationals, won the overall, all of this, right? Prior to nationals, she did a show in Sacramento where she won the overall there as well. And she sent me the overall videos, comparison videos, and she didn't understand why she won the overall. She thought that there were a couple other girls on that stage that looked better than her, that should have won over her. And I said, to be honest with you, I'm really happy that you won the overall here because you have the least amount of muscle and you're not as lean as everybody else on that stage. I said, they all look great. Don't get me wrong. They look really impressive, but you fit the bikini criteria. They're too big. They're too lean. They're too hard. You are not, right? Bikini is supposed to be down the middle. Down the middle. It's not supposed to be big and hard, right? Yeah, there's different divisions and different criteria. That's the whole thing. That's the beautiful part about our sport. However you want to develop your physique, you can. You can. You just have to go into the different divisions that actually have that as the criteria, right? So as we go into the Olympia week this week, I'm really hoping that the girls that have developed their physiques for the criteria for their division are the ones that get rewarded. And if that's the case, we could see a lot of these placings that I predicted yesterday get shook up. We could see a lot of these placings that I predicted yesterday get shook up. We go into these shows with a bias. We go into these shows thinking so-and-so is going to place here, so-and-so is going to place there. But there is always a surprise. Always. Maureen Blanquisco is a perfect example. When she came in last year, I was telling everybody, I was like, she's going to be top 5. She's going to be top 5. And everyone's like, no. She ended up in that 4th place position. Right? There's always going to be some shakeups. Laura Lee, when she first came on the scene, I can tell you I had so many arguments with people because she came in, she won like 3 pro shows. She won Toronto and she won Chicago and she won something else too. She won like 3 pro shows, had nothing but wins. And everybody was like, but she's not a top 5 Olympian. She's not going to get in the top 5 her first year in the Olympia. And she was top 2. I'm like, you guys, there is always going to be a surprise, right? That's why these predictions, they're fun and everything, but they don't mean shit at the end of the day once the girls get on stage, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't mean shit, right? It matters what people actually bring to the stage. Jennifer Dory is another great example. She won the Olympia last year. It wasn't until last year that she actually won a show. You guys know that? She qualified for the Olympia on points every year. And she still ended up in the top 10, still ended up in the top 5. And then she wins a show. And then she goes in and she wins the Olympia. She was a top 10 Olympian and never won a show. I mean, come on, man. Like, there's going to be changes. There's going to be shakeups. There's going to be things that people don't expect. Right? Daraja is another example. Daraja came in last year, guns blazing. Daraja is one of the reasons why I haven't made my final predictions for bikini yet, because I want to see what she looks like when she goes into Battle of Texas this weekend. You know, she placed second this past year. She could end up switching some things up. She could make one of these top 5 Olympians drop out that I put into my top 6 yesterday. She could end up making one of them drop out. As far as the fitness criteria is concerned, to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know about the props thing. That's going to be something I honestly don't know about the criteria for fitness. If somebody knows that for definitive, I'm not sure. It could be based on insurance policies and things like that. It definitely could be something that's an issue there. And when we're talking about physique wise for fitness, it's the same criteria as figure. So. You know, there's a few girls, and we're going to preview Battle of Texas tomorrow. There's a few girls in that particular show that could shake things up this coming weekend for the Olympia. You know, I have my ideas, but I'm not putting them down on paper until we see what happens at Battle of Texas. Right? So I wanted to pull up the actual criteria for these divisions, guys. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. So here's figure for you. So you can find all of the actual rules and criteria on NPC News Online. So when you go to the top on NPC News Online, it's under the rules tab. Hang on, see that, it's just under the rules tab right here. Okay. So I just wanted to pull this up so you guys can actually see what the official criteria is here, right? Official criteria for women's figure competitors. So obviously they're saying female physiques. They're talking about the different divisions here. So figure, athletes should display an overall balance of muscular development, which includes rounded delts, sweep to the quads, back depth and width. Emphasis is on balance and symmetry. Small amount of muscle separation. Okay. This is where I think it kind of gets a little bit hairy because these girls got some major muscle separation now. A nice V taper. Tight glutes with separation between the hamstring and glute area, balance between the upper and lower body. Figure athletes should not display striations or graininess, muscularity, thickness associated with women's physique. So as you scroll down, they have pictures of Sid on here. And as you can see, as lean and conditioned as she is, we don't really see any striations, right? I mean, you could make an argument that maybe she's got a little bit of feathering in the quad, but that's very, very slight right here. But she's still she's got the muscle separation, but she's not feathering the quads really a lot. We'll see that in a minute when I'll pull up women's physique and show you the difference. Fullness, roundness. This is all full round muscle, right? Same thing in the back. So she's tight through those hamstrings and glutes. And, you know, this is the other thing you got to realize, too, is these photos actually make them look a little bit harder than what they look like in person. To be honest with you, when I saw her come on stage for the Olympia this past year, I thought she was a little soft. She's obviously not soft, but she was just soft in comparison to everybody else. So when you look at this, soft in her scenario is a good thing. And you can tell this is not soft, right? These tie-ins to the hamstrings and stuff are not soft. She's got that tight fullness. And again, she's got that round fullness, that pop in the glutes. We don't see striations in the glutes, right? We're not seeing striations in the shoulders, but she's got that V and she's got that depth. Again, that's where you get that incredible genetics coming into here. Obviously a ton of hard work too. That goes without saying about her. She has amazing genetics for this particular division, which is why it's really hard for people to catch up to her. So that's figure. Here's wellness. It says this division is for females with athletic physiques that showcase more body mass in the hips, glutes, and thigh area. The upper body is developed, but not to the same degree as the lower body. Then we got the height classes. Front, they'll face the front with one hand on one hip, arm straight down, and one leg slightly extended. We do not want to see the arm off to one side, the elbow bent, the wrist bent upwards. So this actual front pose is different now. So they need to change their pictures out. So feathering is in the quads. Striations are in the glutes and the shoulders, really. I mean, that's the main thing. You could technically say that the feathering in the quads is actually striations too, right? They don't really use the word feathering for your shoulders and your glutes and things like that. They use the word striation, right? Feathering is really only used for the quads. It basically means the same thing. It's just a different term for it. And it's really just because it looks like the veins on a feather when you got the quads. If you look at the quad, the teardrop in the quad, and you see the feathering, that looks like the veins that you'd see on a feather, right? Looks like the pieces of a feather. So that's it. It's pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just depending on what part of the body, right? So yeah, so wellness, again, the front post doesn't even look like this anymore. So again, they need to change that. Quarter turn, competitors will turn slightly facing the judges with the right hand on the hip, blah, blah, blah. So this is talking about their quarter turns, what the quarter turns should look like. The quarter turns do look like this. This is where I feel like, you know, the wellness look should stay right here. This is actually a little bit small, but I think this might also be a amateur. But I feel like this is enough muscle right here. And the girls in wellness right now are definitely bigger than that. But I feel like, for me personally, I think that's where they should be. And then we got the back pose, which this is not even a full back pose here. This one's bent a little bit too much. I've talked about this for you guys before. I feel like they need to go in and change some of these photos, because with wellness girls, we want them standing up. You can see how this kind of flattens her out from the back because she's pushing too hard. But again, the bigger quads, bigger glutes, all of that, we see all of that. But if you look at this too, I mean, when you look at this stuff, they have the same level of conditioning as figure girls do. They have the same level of conditioning as figure girls do. Or, you know, in Sydney's case, you can see it's the same kind of cuts that she's got here that Sydney has, that kind of thing. They just have different structure muscle wise, right? So they talk about how the conditioning should be on par with bikini for wellness, but it's not. And the reason why that is because wellness girls carry more muscle in general than bikini girls do. Right. So yeah, the pictures need to be changed. Absolutely. I agree. The pictures need to be changed out. This isn't a very good example. They should have updated it with Francielli's pictures, honestly. So these pictures are a few years old here. But the hardest thing to see when it comes to, or to explain when it comes to wellness, is the conditioning. If they had the same amount of muscle as a bikini girl, would look similar to a bikini girl, but because they have more muscle than the bikini girl, their conditioning looks like a figure girl. I know that's really confusing, but that's basically how that works, because their conditioning level is the same as a bikini girl, but they have more muscle, so therefore it looks like they're more conditioned. I hope that makes sense. I know that's really confusing. I know it's hard to explain and hard to show that, especially when these pictures aren't the best. But I hope that makes sense, because people always look at wellness girls and say that they're over conditioned or this, that, the other thing. In reality, it's just that they have more muscle, so therefore they look like they are more conditioned, right? So it looks like they have the conditioning of a figure girl just because they have more muscle than a bikini girl. I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't. Makes sense? Okay, good. I'm like, I know it's really hard to understand. It's hard to understand. But what happens is when a girl has more mass on her body, she is going to look more conditioned regardless. She may still have the same amount of body fat as a bikini girl, but she's going to look like she has less because she has more muscle mass. Right? Hopefully. Anyway. So a lot of these pictures absolutely need to be changed out, but they're just showing the examples of quarter turns and how to do them and how not to do them and things like that. So even this, they don't allow for this front pose, all that kind of stuff. So let's see. And they're talking about how to check in, blah, 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 level of conditioning. We're looking for conditioning almost on par with bikini athletes, but the athletes will have slightly more muscle, right? So we want to see a little body fat with slight separation, but no striations. Again, the no striations thing is a big thing right there, you guys. No striations, no striations, no striations. That's what I'm hoping that they stick to at the Olympia. Abs is defined like figure or less defined like bikini, as is currently in bikini. They don't really judge on having a six pack. You know, you want to be flat, you want to have some definition there, but six pack is not required, kind of thing. Shoulders, rounded and cap-like figure in women's physique are less pronounced like bikini, slightly more developed than bikini. So they still have upper body, right? It's not like they have no upper body. They just have a little bit more than bikini and a little less than figure, but not as lean, with no striations, not like women's physique. Again, going back to what I was saying before. Okay. The quad should display an athletic appearance with slight separation, but no striations, not as lean and defined as figure in women's physique. Glute development, full round glutes with a slight separation between the hamstring and glute area, but no striations. Again, you see this a lot. No striations, no striations, no striations. As in place for the bikini division, glutes will be bigger than current bikini competitors. They will not be as lean and defined as figure in women's physique. And then it goes suit rules, which we don't really care about because we know what the suits are supposed to look like. As far as the Arnold Amateur, it's just a difference of business opinions is the Arnold Amateur. And that's the long and short of it right there. That's what's going on. Which happens in every business. So now we're moving on to bikini. Okay, so here's our bikini criteria. Okay. So it says bikini athletes should display a foundation of muscle which gives shape to the female body, full round glutes with slight separation between the hamstring and glute area, small amount of roundness in the delts, conditioned core. Conditioned core, again, means that you're tight and you have some definition, but don't necessarily need to have a six pack or anything like that. Your overall look is judged. Your hair, makeup, suit, and tan. I've told you guys this 1,000 times. That whole package matters. Bikini athletes should not display muscular density seen in a figure physique. Squared glutes, which you get squared glutes if you flex. So don't flex your glutes, ladies. Muscle separation seen in figure competitors, graininess, striations anywhere. So again, no, we don't want to see anything getting too lean, no graininess, no striations anywhere. Again, we're seeing the striations thing, no striations, no striations, no striations. So hopefully we see no striations that get rewarded, right? Hopefully that's what we see. So again, they've got Jen up here, which this is what we talk about when we talk about a conditioned core. She's tight, tiny little waistline, but you can see she doesn't have a six pack. She's just got a nice tight core, right? She has shoulders, but not a lot, right? She's got this nice V into her glutes and everything like that. Nice. This is a great S curve right here. Everything's in proportion. She's not too lean. We're not seeing striations anywhere. Right? No striations. And again, going back here, we can see her conditioning level is great. I think she had great conditioning here, but you can see she's just not as hard as we see sometimes. She doesn't have those really tight drop-in diamond glute hamstring tie-ins. She's got that fullness, that roundness, that pop, that feminine look, right? So this to me, I like this level of conditioning for bikini. I don't think she needs to get harder than this. So we'll see what happens when she actually gets on stage. Again, she looks, to me, when I've seen her previews, things like that, she looks stage ready now. She looks stage ready now. So let's see what she looks like when she gets up on stage. But again, there's a reason why this is the entry level for this sport, right? It needs to stay attainable. It needs to be something that the typical girl who just started lifting, who wants to get on stage, can look at her and say, I want to look like her, right? I've never heard Sandy say that they don't want tie-ins. So I'm not sure when you heard her say that, because she says tie-ins all the time. So you might be just confusing her language a little bit. You absolutely need to have that tie-in here. Absolutely. That is what signifies that you are in shape for your show, right? Yeah, I mean, this is bikini. So we're looking at bikini right here. So I personally have never, I mean, they're not specifically, maybe this is what you took this as, right? So they're not looking for hamstrings. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for the full round glutes that tie into your hamstrings with that conditioning. So it's not like they're up there saying, oh, that girl needs, I'm looking for her hamstrings. No, they're looking for your shape and your glutes, but your hamstrings need to be in shape, right? Your conditioning needs to be in shape, right? Right. They don't want etched in. Correct. There's a difference between having full round glutes and tie-ins like this and having etched in tie-ins. I've said this on several of my wrap-ups where I said this girl just has like those diamond drops into her glutes where it's like tight, sharp hamstrings. That's too much in my opinion. This is full and round. That's great. That's perfect, right? Now, this is also the look. I've mentioned this before. Ashlyn gets this look on stage. Romina had this look on stage. Jordan has this look on stage. Maureen has this look on stage. Ashley has this look on stage. This is the look right here. It's fullness back there. It's not dry and hard and grainy, right? There's a difference. There's a difference. And it's hard to see it unless you've been in this industry for a while and know what the difference is. But it's very clear once you know what it is. Once you know what it is, you can pinpoint it anywhere. Right? So, personally, what I want to see happen at the Olympia is that the criteria is stuck to. That's it. That's what I want to see. And if it is, then there's going to probably be some people that are really upset about the package that they bring because they're going to bring fantastic packages to the stage, but they just might not fit the criteria. They may be a little bit too far. That's what happens. But hopefully the judging will stick to the criteria, right? Because what happens at this Olympia is what's going to set the tone for next year. Always does. You guys hear me say it all the time when I do my wrap-ups. You know, I talk about somebody who won a show and I compare that person to the person that won the Olympia. Right? Any other questions you guys have for tonight? This was a good discussion, you guys. I appreciate the questions. I appreciate the comments. I hope that I'm able to explain it a little bit. So, you know, I understand. And this was, and actually what Brandy mentioned before, she said something about the fact, unless you're going to talk about this at Cuties again. My topic last year at Cuties Conquering the Stage was I went through and I explained all of these criteria words, the things that are a completely different language to most competitors, that they don't understand what it means. Right. And I showed visual examples of what that actually meant. Right? It's hard. It's a different language. It's a different language, and you have to have a different vision for it too. You have to be very educated on this language and on what the judges are actually looking for. I kind of relate it. I went to school for music, so I kind of relate it to music theory. Reading music is a completely different language than any other language. And unless you know how to read music, it's just dots on a paper, right? So it's the same thing here. Unless you know how to read physiques, it's just bodies on the stage. If that makes sense. Right? So the bottom line is, guys, bikini should be the entry level. If you want more, move up. There's nothing wrong with that. You can move up divisions, right? I talk about this all the time too. So when I won my pro card, I won it in figure. It was Team U at the time. It's NPC Universe now, but it was Team U at the time. The girl that took second to me also won her pro card. So when we got into the pro league, I ended up moving down to bikini. She ended up moving up to women's physique. So again, this is the beautiful thing about our sport. You are able to go where you want to go and how you want to train, right? There is no limitation. Just understand that if you go past criteria in a particular division, then you should go into the next division, right? So that way we can keep everybody in the criteria in check. This is something that I mentioned in a live stream a few months ago too, where I said we have to bring to the stage the right criteria as well, because the judges can only judge what shows up. So if everybody that shows up is big and muscular, they got to reward somebody, right? So we as competitors, we have to take some responsibility on that as well. You know, the judges have their job to do, and it's a very tough job, but we as competitors need to bring to the stage the criteria as well. Right? That's on us. That's on us. Okay? Any other questions, you guys, for tonight? As we're wrapping up this evening, we will do preview of Battle of Texas tomorrow. And we'll talk a little bit about what we got going on at Olympia next week, because we have several goals going. I've mentioned this before. So make sure that you let me know if you're going to be there. I know we're going to have a big cutie crew there getting in next week, having a fun time, going to finals at least one of the nights, and then having like a drinking party the other one, because finals on Saturday is super expensive. So we're gonna get the live stream, and I'll have a party in my room. What else? Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. I think I got everything tonight. So I felt like this was a good time to bring up this topic. We do this every once in a while, go through criteria points every once in a while. I think reviewing it going into the Olympia is a really good idea and a really good thing that we should be paying attention to as we go into this next week, because it's going to set the tone for next year. So that way you can know what to expect for next year too. Okay. So with that, if you'd like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits, and posing, all the fun stuff when it comes to competing. We'll be back on live again tomorrow night at 8:15, and we will preview Battle of Texas tomorrow night. And then I will bring my final picks for bikini for 7 through 15 on Monday. All right? Hope you guys have a great night. I'm going to log off of Instagram first, and we will go to